So, good morning or good afternoon, whatever the time you guys are watching the lecture. I'm Dr. Birva Desai from Department of Psychiatry of Jim's Hospital. So, our topic for today would be schizophrenia, pardon my voice. Schizophrenia is a very large topic, one of the most important topics of psychiatry. So it is not going to be possible to cover it within one lecture. We might need several lectures, maybe 2 to 3 lectures to cover it. But for the sake of the syllabus of MBBS, I guess 2 to 3 lectures would be fine. So for your exams purpose, psychiatric questions are asked, as you must be knowing. Psychiatric questions are asked in your medicine paper. They carry not much weightage as compared to your other subjects like medicine, OBGY, surgery, but still it is a very nice subject. Okay, so this is a very important question for your theory as well as practicals. Maybe whenever you appear for medicine practicals or at the time of giving your psychiatry clinical posting examination, schizophrenia is going to be one of your most important topic. Okay, so the topic of schizophrenia that we are going to cover shall be covered in these contents: introduction, etiology, epidemiology, types, signs and symptoms, pathophysiology, complications, diagnosis, prognosis, management, and so on. Okay, so to begin with, what does the term schizophrenia mean? The term schizophrenia literally means fragmented mind, or previously it used to be called split mind. Split mind, as soon as I say split mind, I'm sure you must be thinking about the split personality disorder. Recently, I believe every one of you might have watched the Breathe 2 season, yeah, Amazon Prime, Abhishek Bachchan, exactly. So that is not schizophrenia, that is split personality disorder as it was used to called previously in the past, many years back. Now, the split personality, that the thing that has been shown, the disorder with Abhishek Bachchan that has been shown in the series, I'm sorry for the spoilers, really sorry. So that disorder is currently called dissociative disorder, which I think they have mentioned in the series in the later episodes. That is not schizophrenia. Split mind, it is, the mind is away from reality, the touch with reality that we have, all normal people, as I believe we are normal. The touch with reality that we have, that is affected in schizophrenia. That is why the term split mind. It does not mean the split personality disorder. Okay, that is the first misnomer which I would like to clarify. So schizophrenia, it is one of the most complex, chronic and challenging psychiatric disorders that affects how a person thinks, feels and believes. As I said, the touch with reality is lost in schizophrenia, right? The person affected with schizophrenia, his mind, it is away from reality, meaning he or she lives in the mind, in a world created by the mind. It is not real, it is all in the mind. It's a separate world that they are living in, because of which they seem to us as patients, right? You might have seen a few movies, maybe in Bollywood also, in Hollywood also. In Hollywood there is a very nice movie which shows the symptoms of schizophrenia very clearly. One of them is The Machinist. I think the actor is Christian Bale. Yeah, so that is a very nice movie. I recommend watching it. Another such movie is, I think, A Beautiful Mind. I think it was an Oscar-winning film. And as if I speak of Bollywood, there was an old movie, not very old, a movie by Farhan Akhtar. It was Karthik Calling Karthik. Even in that movie, he was suffering from schizophrenia. Okay. This is just for reference so that you get an idea what a person of schizophrenia might look like. Okay. Why is it a very complex disorder? Because there are so many mechanisms, there are so many etiologies, there is a lot in the pathophysiology of schizophrenia that it is a very vast topic in itself. It's not just a 5 marks or 10 marks or 15 marks short note. Okay. It's a very vast topic. The pathophysiology involved, the etiology involved is very complicated. Another thing, it is a very chronic disorder. It's not like our febrile illnesses or other medical illnesses or even other psychiatric illnesses like bipolar disorder or depression. Schizophrenia, when a person is suffering from it, the diagnostic criteria itself is that the duration should be minimum of 6 months. Okay. Any duration, the duration of symptoms of schizophrenia, when it exceeds 6 months, only then we can label it, we can diagnose it as schizophrenia. Okay, that makes it obviously a very long term and a chronic disorder. And just like any other chronic disorder, there are a lot of complications, there are a lot of sequelae of it, a lot of disabilities that follow. A person's ability to do day-to-day activities, to carry out his occupation, all those things are affected, and that is why it is a serious and a grave disorder. Okay. So it represents a heterogeneous syndrome of disorganized thoughts, delusions, hallucinations, and impaired psychosocial functioning. This is just an MRI image of healthy brain and schizophrenia brain. Let's not go into the details of it, okay? So the etiology of schizophrenia. While many factors have been associated with developing schizophrenia, including genetics, early environment, neurobiology, and psychological and social processes, the exact cause of the disease is unknown. So when we are writing a short note in examination and when we don't know what is the etiology of the disorder, this is the most common trick that can save you in examination. Just write, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of causes, there are multiple etiologies, multiple factors, this and that, but the exact etiology is unknown. Okay. Kidding. One of the etiology is, which I believe is quite important, it is the genetic factor, the hereditary component. If you have a family history, I'm sure you must be knowing about the components of history taking. So there is a component called family history. So if there is a family history of schizophrenia in any of the family members, baap, dada, kaka, mama, cousin, ye, wo, anybody, that increases your chances of getting schizophrenia. Okay, not necessary that if a father has schizophrenia, the son or daughter is definitely going to have it. It's not definite, but then the chances of it certainly increase. Okay. So viral infections and immune disorders, the viral infections like encephalitis, which might affect the brain, okay, not like the commonest example right now is the COVID-19, not those kind of viral infections, those that immune disorders or viral infections that affect the brain, maybe they can predispose, okay, they cannot cause. And for any of the factors, I am not going to say that they cause this disorder called schizophrenia, okay, because I mentioned etiology is not known. They might predispose to this condition. Okay, so viral infections, immune disorders are one. Genetics, hereditary, which I believe is a very, very important factor, because any patients of schizophrenia that we see clinically, when we ask, does anybody of your family member have had this kind of illness, and most of the times, not all of the times though, but most of the times they say yes. Maybe the grandfather had, maybe the paternal uncle had, maybe the maternal aunt had, or something like that. Okay. So the scientists recognize that the disorder tends to run in families, and this, how do they say? I mean, how do they prove these? The researchers, how do they say that this thing happens? So they do studies in twins, monozygotic twins, dizygotic twins. They see the inheritance pattern in them. Okay, and that is how they come to a conclusion. Monozygotic twins are twice as likely as normal siblings to get affected by schizophrenia if any one of them, or if their parents have had the history of schizophrenia. Okay, that is how they conclude that genetics plays a major role. Okay. So similar to some genetically related illnesses, schizophrenia may appear when the body undergoes hormonal and physical changes. Hormones are there always for anything you want to blame upon. The risk of developing schizophrenia increases to approximately 10% if a first degree relative has the illness, and up to 3% if a second degree relative has the illness. Okay. Immediate relations, more the probability. Okay. Epidemiology, the prevalence of schizophrenia ranges from 0.6% to 1.9% with an average of approximately 1%. These are approximate worldwide figures. Okay, so when you appear for a psychiatry exam, you must search maybe over the web or in the textbooks or Indian authored textbooks about what are the incidences and prevalence rates in India specific to our nation. Okay, it has most commonly onset in the late adolescence or early adulthood. Rarely occurs before adolescence or after the age of 40 years. This is an important thing, because see, if a 70-year-old man comes to your OPD with symptoms resembling schizophrenia, Even the duration satisfies, okay, it is more than 6 months. Would you call it schizophrenia? While labeling that 70-year-old man as schizophrenic, you need to keep in mind that the age of onset is probably much prior to his current age. You have to keep in mind other probable differential diagnosis, okay. There stands the importance of this kind of epidemiology, because the age of onset is early late adolescence to early adulthood, right? So when it starts, psychotic symptoms, when they start in a 70-year-old man, schizophrenia should not be the first thing you suspect. I'm just trying to explain the importance of these kind of epidemiologies, okay. This you can understand better if you attend the clinics, if you see patients, okay. That time you can understand these things better. Slightly more in men than women, which with a ratio of 1.4:1. Now the types of schizophrenia. There are types of schizophrenia, but let me tell you very honestly, these types are kind of outdated, okay. In the older versions, I mean, we use a manual called Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5, DSM-5. This manual is basically a classification of all psychiatric disorders, okay, and it mentions the diagnostic criteria of each and every psychiatric disorders. Under that DSM-5, it is the 5th version. There have been earlier versions also. This is the 5th one, the latest one. The next version has not yet come. We are expecting it shortly, but then as of now we follow DSM-5, and in that these types of schizophrenia have been removed, okay. This is only according to the clinical presentations of the patient, the clinical features that we see in the patient. Based on that, these are some types. Previously, people, clinicians, everybody used to follow them, but now we don't really follow them. This is only and only for theoretical purpose. For maybe short note, I don't know exactly about your paper pattern, but then in your short note, this kind of question might come, okay. Types of schizophrenia. Very less likely, because as I said, it has been removed. Paranoid schizophrenia, hebephrenic schizophrenia, catatonic schizophrenia, undifferentiated schizophrenia, residual schizophrenia, okay. These are 5 types. There are other types also, but I don't think you should be going into those details. Paranoid schizophrenia. It is one of the commonest forms. Predominant hallucinations or delusions may develop at a later age than other types of schizophrenia. Speech and emotions might be unaffected. Risk for suicidal or violent behavior is under the influence of delusions. I know it might be slightly difficult at this point of time. I'm just reading it out, okay, because the explanation of each of these types is going to take a lot of time, okay. Maybe in the next lectures, if time permits, we can go into these details. Hebephrenic or disorganized schizophrenia. The behavior is disorganized and without purpose. Thoughts are disorganized, difficult to understand by others. Franks, giggling, health complaints, grimacing and mannerisms are common. Delusions and hallucinations are fleeting. Usually develops between the ages of 15 to 25. Now, paranoid schizophrenia. What is paranoia? Paranoia matlab shak, doubt, suspicion, okay. Paranoid schizophrenia matlab the patient will doubt. These people are plotting against me. People are against me. Wherever I go, people are watching at me. Okay. When we move out and when we see people are watching at us, that might be a possibility. They might be watching at us, but I'm not talking about the normal what we feel, that fine, people are in their own worlds, maybe eye contact हुआ, that's it. Here, whenever the person is amidst people, or even when the patient is alone, he or she might keep getting the feeling that somebody is watching me, I am under surveillance, there is a CCTV camera put over here, somebody is constantly monitoring me, somebody is taking all my information. That kind of suspiciousness, okay, that is the core feature of paranoid schizophrenia, okay. Delusions, hallucinations. Well, these are the main diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia, delusions and hallucinations, but then there are fixed definitions of both. Maybe we'll look into it at a later date. Okay, so that is paranoid schizophrenia. On the contrast, hebephrenic is patient is very disorganized. The touch with reality is lost to that extent that the person might not be able to carry out his day-to-day activities like self-care, grooming, taking a shower, all those activities, doing day-to-day activities, cooking, washing clothes maybe, driving maybe, all those kind of activities, they get disorganized to a very large extent, okay. Maybe the sense of where to pee, where to shower, all those senses are also disorganized, okay. Catatonic schizophrenia is the one in which it is kindly a rarer type, but then there is exhaustion or self-injury, unusual movements, often switching between extremes of overactivity and stillness. Either the person is very aggressive, very violent, that kind of a thing, or the person just lays still like that, okay. No movement, उसको जितना जगाने की कोशिश करो, जितना उठाने की कोशिश करो, that is not going to be possible, okay. That is catatonia. Catatonia also has a separate definition. I guess we need not go in these much of details. Undifferentiated schizophrenia, as the name suggests, undifferentiated. Some characteristics of paranoid, hebephrenic or catatonic does not obviously fit in any one of the types. And residual, past history of psychosis but only having negative symptoms. Negative symptoms. What do negative symptoms mean? Okay. This is basically the subcategory of clinical features of schizophrenia. Clinical features of schizophrenia can be categorized broadly, not strictly, broadly, into positive symptoms, negative symptoms, or cognitive deficits. Positive symptoms means what? Overt symptoms that should not be present. These include hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thoughts. One example of disorganized thoughts is what I said, that people are watching at me, somebody is plotting against me, that suspiciousness kind of thing. Okay, what are hallucinations? Hallucinations, in simple words, not the exact definition, but in simple words, a sensation of something in absence of it, right? So if I say there is a wire over here, okay, there is a wire lying over here, and I say that this wire is a snake, is that a hallucination or an illusion? That is an illusion, okay. Illusion. Misinterpretation of a sensory stimulus is an illusion. So if a wire is lying over here and looking at the wire, if I say it is a snake, that is an illusion. But in absence of anything, if I say there is a snake here, there is a snake here, I can definitely see there is a snake here, that is a hallucination, okay. Hallucination has subtypes of auditory, to hear things, to hear voices when there is no such sensory stimulus. Those are auditory hallucinations. Visual hallucination, I already gave an example. Olfactory hallucination, smelling something when there is nothing, okay. Tactile hallucination, something is crawling over my skin, some bugs maybe, when in reality there is nothing. That is tactile hallucination, okay. Auditory hallucinations commonly in psychosis. Psychosis means schizophrenia, the entire spectrum of schizophrenia disorders. Visual hallucinations suggest some abnormality in the brain, some organic disorders. Organic means there is something specific in the brain which could be found on CT, MRI, those kind of scans. Tactile hallucinations are common in cocaine, okay. Cocaine addiction, tactile hallucinations are common. And olfactory hallucinations. Olfactory hallucinations are common in temporal lobe epilepsy. This is just for your information. You don't need to memorize. Maybe in clinics or clinical postings when you have viva, these questions might be asked. Okay. These are main types of hallucinations: auditory, visual, olfactory, tactile. Okay. Delusion. Now what is a delusion? It is a false, fixed, firm, unshakable belief into something, okay, which is not in keeping with the socio-cultural background and persists even after giving evidence to the contrary, okay. This is like the Bible definition of delusion. You can never forget this definition, you cannot afford to forget this definition, okay. Now definition bol diya, but what does it mean? I believe one of my colleague is against me. that colleague of mine is plotting against me. Today he came late. Why? Because he deliberately wanted me to see a few patients. Okay, now somebody might come in front and tell me, no, it's not like that. There was a lot of traffic jam and he was stuck in the traffic and that is why he was late. But I won't believe it at all. This is my false. It is a false belief. It is a firm belief. It is unshakable. It persists even after providing evidence to the contrary. You give me evidence. You provide me CCTV footage of the traffic jam. Still, I will believe that no, this is all a conspiracy, right? That person has done this thing deliberately. Okay, that is a delusion. So hallucination, delusion and disorganized thoughts, they comprise the positive symptoms. Now the negative symptoms. Negative does not refer to a person's attitude, like I am feeling negative today, I am feeling hopeless today. Those are features of depression. We are not talking about that kind of a thing. But instead to a lack of characteristics that should be present. So positive symptoms, symptoms which are there which should not be there. Negative symptoms, features that should be there, they are not there. Okay? Negative symptoms include reduced speech even when encouraged to interact. Alogia. It would be good if you note down these. This is an important point. This will help you understand the entire disorder of schizophrenia better. Okay? Negative symptoms, alogia, flattening of affect, anhedonia, avolition, apathy. I repeat, alogia, flattening of affect, anhedonia, avolition, apathy. Okay? This asociality you can call apathy. A-P-A-T-H-Y. Okay? Affect flattening, affective flattening. These are the 5 A's. Okay, remember the 5 A's for negative symptom. Alogia, I already said. Affect flattening. What is affect? In very simple words, when you see somebody, when somebody enters, your family member, when he or she enters home, शक्ल देख के you can say, आज पारा गरम है, या फिर ओहो आज पार्टी बहुत खुश है. So just from the facial, the body language, you get to understand what is going on inside the person's head. That reflection is what we call affect, what the doctor perceives of the patient's mood. Okay, mood is something which the patient feels, but what the doctor perceives of the mood is called affect. Okay, so affective flattening, mane, when you greet someone, you usually greet with a smile, hello. When something sad happens, somebody's pet dies, you are like, oh, that is something very sad. Your facial expressions change, your affect changes, right? In patients with negative symptoms of schizophrenia, the affect is just flat, no expressions at all. No offense, but like Katrina Kaif maybe, okay? So that is affective flattening. Then is avolition, diminished ability to begin and sustain activities. Avolition is also what we call lack of initiation. So I need to go out to take grocery. I don't feel like going out of the house. मुझे मन ही नहीं हो रहा है. Okay, lack of initiation. I know I have things lined up. I have a to-do list for the day, but मन ही नहीं हो रहा है. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel the initiative to do that. Okay. Decreased ability to find pleasure in everyday, which is anhedonia, inability to experience pleasure. Friends, I know the parties are not happening right now, but you are at a party with friends, everybody is dancing, everybody is enjoying, but then you cannot feel the pleasure. You are out on a trip, maybe in the mountains, hilly region, nice view with hot Maggie, but still you are not able to experience any kind of pleasure. That is anhedonia. Okay? Social withdrawal, asociality, apathy. Okay? These are the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. So, I know many of you might be thinking, मुझे भी ऐसा होता है, कभी कभी पार्टी में जाते हैं तो मतलब I cannot experience pleasure. Those are not negative symptoms of schizophrenia. You need to, there are definite diagnostic criteria. Okay? These are common experiences also. When they take the form of symptoms, and when such cluster of symptoms meets the diagnostic criteria, that is the time we label it as schizophrenia. Okay, so 5 A's of negative symptoms I am repeating again and again because this is very important. Okay, alogia, affective flattening, avolition, anhedonia, apathy. Okay, cognitive deficits, that is the third category. Difficulties with following aspects of cognition can make it hard to live a normal life or earn a living. Memory or attention. Okay, memory is impaired. Obviously memory is memory, you understand memory. And attention. Attention means if this were a live class, if you people were sitting in front of me, okay, I believe around 70 to 80% of you might be thinking of what are we going to have for lunch. Maybe right now also many of you might have switched off the mic, the speaker, and might be taking a nap. But whatever. Inability to focus is inattention. Okay. Memory and attention are affected when a person has cognitive deficits. Now, it's not necessary that a patient of schizophrenia is going to have positive symptoms, negative symptoms, and cognitive deficits all combined together. Okay. This is just a description of the variety of symptoms a schizophrenic patient can have. Okay. Now, signs and symptoms. As I said, positive symptoms, we have already talked about this: delusion, hallucination, disorganized speech, catatonia. Cognitive symptoms like poor executive functioning, poor working memory. Okay. Negative symptoms, I already said. Coming to the pathophysiology, as I said at the outset, while introducing the topic, pathophysiology is very complicated. Okay, I am not going to go in details, but if you have to write a short note about the pathophysiology of schizophrenia, there is the dopamine hypothesis. And how do they come to the researchers, how do they come to conclusion that dopamine might play a role in this? By some studies like positron emission tomography, which is somewhat similar to a radiological scan like CT scan or MRI. So these PET scan studies of the brain, they show dopaminergic hyperactivity in the nucleus accumbens. You should be knowing nucleus accumbens by now if you have done in first year. Dopaminergic hyperactivity in the nucleus accumbens and dopaminergic hypofunction in the frontotemporal regions. The frontal region, frontal lobe of the brain, which plays a role in memory, cognition. Okay, so hypofunction in frontal areas, frontotemporal areas, leads to cognitive deficits. Hyperactivity in the nucleus accumbens leads to positive symptoms. Are you getting? I hope you should be getting it. Okay, so PET studies using D2 specific ligands provide data suggesting increased densities of D2 receptors in the nucleus accumbens. PET studies assessing D1 function suggest that the subpopulations of schizophrenics may have decreased in densities of D1 receptors in the prefrontal cortex. The dopamine receptors, what is dopamine by the way? If you have done your pharmacology, you must be well versed with dopamine. It is a neurotransmitter in the brain. Dopamine has its own receptors. Okay. So positive symptoms are thought to result from overactivity in the mesolimbic dopaminergic pathway, activating D2 receptors, whereas negative symptoms may result from a decreased activity in the mesocortical dopaminergic pathway where D1 receptors predominate. Mesocortical matlab from the mesial part to the cortical part. Cortical, frontal lobe, as I said. Okay. In short, if you have to write a short note, there is a chemical locha in the dopamine pathways. Okay. Dopaminergic hyperactivity where nucleus accumbens, hypoactivity where frontotemporal regions. Okay. These are the 5 pathways. I don't know if you have studied in your anatomy, your neuroanatomy or not. There are these pathways of dopamine. Pathways matlab you should study that. Okay. The dopaminergic pathways, that is the mesocortical pathway, tuberohypophyseal pathway, nigrostriatal pathway and mesolimbic pathway. Okay. So this is in short the description of your pathways of dopamine. Specific things happen in specific pathways to produce specific symptoms. Okay, this is might be slightly complicated at this stage, but nigrostriatal pathway, for an example, starts from substantia nigra to goes to the striatum. Okay, origin and where it goes, striatum. So this is where you can get a hold of all the remaining tracts. So the dopaminergic tracts, this was just an example with the nigrostriatal, originates from the substantia nigra, goes to striatum. Function, movement. Okay, this is an explanation, the scientific, the explanation of how each of the symptom is produced. Okay, for your level, just remember, as I said, about the dopaminergic hyperactivity and hypoactivity and the dopaminergic tracts. Okay, if somebody asks you in Viva at MBBS level, what are the dopaminergic tracts? And if you answer these 4 tracts, your distinction is guaranteed. Okay. So these are the dopaminergic pathways relevant to schizophrenia symptoms. Overactivity of the mesolimbic pathway. If you want to ratify it, you can ratify it. That produces your positive symptoms, and mesocortical pathway produces your negative and cognitive symptoms. Another neurotransmitter that plays a role in the pathophysiology is glutamate. Okay, glutamate. NMDA receptor hypofunction is thought to reduce the level of activity in the mesocortical dopaminergic neurons. This would result in a decrease in dopamine release and in the prefrontal cortex, and thus give rise to negative symptoms of schizophrenia. In short, there is a chemical loci in glutamate also in addition to dopamine. Okay, and glutamate is also more, I can say, related to negative symptoms only. Okay, let's not go into the details of it. (5-HT). What is 5-HT? Serotonin. Okay, the serotonergic receptors are present on the dopaminergic axons, and it is known that the stimulation of these receptors will decrease dopamine release in the prefrontal cortex. Patients with schizophrenia with abnormal brain scans have higher whole blood serotonin concentrations, and these concentrations are correlated with increased ventricular size. Kindly do not confuse the serotonin thing with the serotonin levels of depression. That is a completely different aspect. Okay, these are the serotonergic receptors present on dopaminergic neurons. Okay, and that is why serotonin plays a role in the pathophysiology, but the primarily of more importance is dopamine followed by glutamate. Atypical antipsychotics. What are atypical antipsychotics? We'll see that at a later date, or maybe you might have visited that in your pharmacology. Antipsychotics with potent serotonin antagonist effects reverse worsening of symptomatology induced by serotonin agonists in patients with schizophrenia. Let it be. Quite troublesome, let it be. Okay, but why we need to study about this pathophysiology and the receptors? Because only then we can give drugs which can target the specific receptors, hence bring about improvement in the patient, right? Complications. What are the possible complications of schizophrenia? Okay, depression, anxiety, these are secondary. I agree, these are secondary, but still they can be considered as complications of schizophrenia. Depression, anxiety, suicide, substance abuse, smoking. Substance abuse does not only mean your alcohol and tobacco, it also includes cannabis, cocaine, right? Inhalants, amphetamines, opioids, and lot more. Violence. If you see the movie Machinist, you can understand how that when the touch with reality is lost, what the processes in the mind lead to making the patient a violent person. Okay. So while the media often depicts schizophrenic patients as violent, they are not necessarily more prone to violence than the general population. Okay, if you get an accident roadside, maybe you also bahan chada ke aise. Okay, that's normal, but then the violence in schizophrenics is depicted not very accurately in movies. That being said, some factors can increase the risk of violent behavior in individuals with schizophrenia. Again, the pathophysiology plays a role in this. Okay, such as delusions or command hallucinations, a history or violent acts, or using alcohol or drugs. Self-injury, they might injure themselves. Sometimes what happens is this suicide, violence or self-injury that might occur secondary to the hallucinations they have. You see, these schizophrenic patients, they constantly keep hearing voices which are not there, but then they hear it like they hear real voices. While like I am talking to a patient, the patient might be able to hear my voice, right? With the same clarity, they hear those voices, the hallucinatory voices. They hear them with the same clarity, as in the voices might talk to them, or there might be multiple voices which talk amongst themselves. Okay. Sometimes those kind of voices instruct them, do this, do that. Sometimes they keep on abusing them. You see, if you have earphones in your ear, and you are walking and somebody is talking to you, sometimes you get distracted. Now while walking you might step in a pothole or something. In a similar way, when the person keeps hearing these kind of hallucinations, these voices constantly, the person is distracted. That is how attention is also affected, right? We had talked about attention in the cognitive deficits. So that is how the person seems to be always distracted. कुछ ध्यान ही नहीं है, because the attention is eaten up by those hallucinatory voices which are constantly telling something to them or talking about him. Okay, so these voices, sometimes what happens is instruct him, go to the 7th floor and jump down. So next day morning we might read in newspapers that a schizophrenic patient committed suicide. We never know, it might be the voices that commanded that person to do that. Okay, or that is a suicidal thing. Another thing is slash your wrist, do this, do that. Or if somebody is in front of you, then the voices might instruct us, go kill that person. That hallucinatory voices, they are so distressing that the person acts upon the hallucination, to act out on the hallucination. Okay, that causes these self-injurious behavior, suicidal behavior, violent behaviors. It is not that only because of the hallucination, it's not that only because of them, this is one of the major causes of it. Okay, now diagnosis. Diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia, as I said, DSM, this is an older presentation. So it says about DSM-4, but now we have DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, published by American Psychiatric Association. Okay. First and foremost thing in the diagnosis of any medical disorder is good and detailed history. So medical history, because you know, like unlike other disorders, your renal disorders, hepatic disorders, you order a range of blood tests, radiological tests, which help you to make a diagnosis. But what do you have in psychiatry? Talking, a good detailed history. Okay, that only gives a lot of idea into what disorder the patient might be having. I believe from the diagnosis portion we can carry on in the next lecture. Okay, the diagnosis, prognosis, treatment, rehabilitation, all those things we can discuss in the next lecture. I would like to mention that the Department of Psychiatry, we have our own email address. So if you have any queries, any questions regarding this lecture, maybe any of the topics that you have been, I suppose you should be studying sitting at home. If you have any queries regarding them, you can send us an email. The email address is psychiatry. You should know the correct spelling of psychiatry for that. Psychiatry, JIMSH, JIMSH, JIMSH @gmail.com. Okay, that is our department's ID. If you have any queries, questions, or if somebody also needs a psychiatric consultation, you can contact us on that email ID. Okay.